Welcome to Heidi Relationships. Today, we'll read some more stories from Reddit. But before we start, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. That would help the channel a lot. Thank you very much in advance.
The first one is titled, I, 22 meters. Think my religious GF, 25, is sexually manipulating me into marriage. My GF, 25, and I, 22 meters, haven't had sex yet. Not with each other. Not with anyone. For religious reasons, she wants to remain a virgin until her honeymoon night. My initial reaction was like, sucks, but fair enough, her choice, let me see where this goes. For the record, my reason for being a virgin has nothing to do with any religion. I've just been too socially inept to make sufficient attempts to actually have sex. However, the one time I did man up and approach a girl, it happened to be the girl who had absolutely no plans to give it up until she met Mr. Right, which may or may not be me. That said, our relationship is now 1 year old and we're so in love it's borderline disgusting. We've low-key been discussing marriage, which she seems keen on, but I've made it clear I'm not on that level yet. Recently though, my GF and I have been living under the same roof. A first for us. She's staying with me while my roommate is out of town. We haven't seen much of each other because of the pandemic, so needless to say we were excited to spend time together. We would kiss and cuddle, even sleep in the same bed, but she never allowed anything beyond that. Whenever my hands gravitated towards her boobs or butt, she would become flustered and pull away. In those moments, my boner would visibly throb inside my pants, and I could tell by the sneaky glances she liked it. As the days went by, she seemed to be doing everything in her power to trigger more boners. Changing clothes in front of me, begging me to piggyback her to and from the shower while she's wearing nothing but a towel. Moaning whenever we made out. All stuff she's never done with me before. Worst of all was when she prayed at night. Hearing her pray was nothing new, but hearing her go into detail about her lustful thoughts was not only new, but it was also ducking hot. Pardon the pun, but it became really hard for me not to get turned on. Last night was no different. She was on her knees praying while I was lying in bed with another boner. As soon as she prayed about wanting to taste my cum, I got out of bed and took my raging boner to the bathroom, where I furiously masturbated. When I returned to the bedroom, my GF laughed and asked what happened to my hard-on. I wasn't laughing though, call it post-nut clarity or whatever, but I told her that I feel like she's going out of her way to turn me on and it's unfair because it makes me want to duck and we can't. She shrugged and told me the only thing stopping us from ducking all day every day was a ring on her finger. If that wasn't savage enough, she got completely naked and climbed into bed, because she randomly felt like sleeping in the nude. I told her I wasn't gonna play this game anymore and spent the night on the couch. We have 1 more week left in the apartment before my roommate comes back. Would it be a dick move to ask my GF to leave sooner because I think she's being too sexy? Just because I'm the one having a hard time managing my sexual urges, does it give me the right to be upset at my GF for it? Update. My GF and I talked. She understood where I was coming from and apologized for creating such a sexually charged environment without the satisfaction, so to speak. In addition, she said that when I invited her to the apartment for some alone time, she felt like I was expecting something sexual, which is why she started behaving the way she did. It was her way of putting on a show for me. She admitted that none of her attempts to seduce me went as planned because she realized she had no idea what she was doing or how to finish what she started. According to her, whenever she noticed me getting turned on, she would panic and kind of just leave me to deal with the boners. The moment I mentioned her feelings towards marriage versus my feelings, she cried. I still wanted to comfort her, but she got too upset and told me she's going home. That was kind of where our conversation ended. It didn't matter what I said, she was done talking. She's been gone for an hour, and she's not responded to any of my calls or messages. I'm alone in the apartment now. Not sure what to make of this night. A user in the comments said, "It does sound rather manipulative and unfair to you. Your feelings are very valid. I don't think it's a dick move. Your girlfriend is already doing dick moves. I think you're quite within your rights to ask her to either cut out the behavior, or you will need time on your own. I'd be pissed off too, if some guy did that to me. I mean, I like a tease, but that behavior seems a bit cruel. Another user said, you need to have a frank, adult conversation about your boundaries and desires. What does she want to experience while staying with you? What do you want? How can you meet each other's desires and respect each other's boundaries? If you can't comfortably manage that kind of conversation, and it will be awkward at first, you shouldn't be talking about marriage. She might not be manipulating you. She might just not have the language and safety to speak what she wants. I've been there in the religiously driven celibacy. It can mess with you. The desires are all there, but so is the shame and guilt and fear. Manning up isn't just having the courage to ask her out. Man up and lead her in a thoughtful, safe, open-hearted conversation about sex, desire, and inevitably her faith, since the sex part and faith part are all wrapped up. That's quality partner material there, even if you never get married. And once you know boundaries clearly, you can have tons of fun in that space. The next one is titled, Update. I, 22 meters. Think my religious GF, 25, is sexually manipulating me into marriage. So, my GF is no longer staying with me. She believed it was best if we didn't share the same bed, let alone the same apartment, because if the past few days taught her anything, it's that we're not mature enough for that step yet. The two of us met up and had a long discussion about relationships, religion, commitment, and sex. Thanks to the knowledge y'all provided in my original post, I was better prepared to express my feelings without coming across too horny or too hurtful. She was also doing great. Still got heated though, especially with the two M words. Marriage and manipulation. She denied that she was using sex to get me to go on one knee, which I ended up believing. Call me an idiot, but the way she was talking didn't sound like someone who would use me like that. To me, she seemed sincere when she said her sexual gestures was nothing more than a reaction to me inviting her to the apartment. According to her, my invitation made her feel pressured to be sexy because having the place to be implied that a certain level of intimacy was expected. She actually confirmed what some of you mentioned in my original post. It was a big turn-on for her, realizing just what a turn-on she was for me. In a way, she became mad with power, hence the erotic prayers and semi-naked piggyback rides, amongst other things. She couldn't stop shaming herself for getting carried away with her desires and contradicting her religious rulebook. In response, I told her that sexual desire is not something to be ashamed of and she should never feel bad for wanting to receive or provide pleasure. I added that I will always respect her religion, like I respect all religions, but based on what has happened, I do feel like her beliefs are throwing our relationship off balance. My actual words were, the love is there, but not the lovemaking. She didn't like the sound of that, but I made it clear that I didn't necessarily mean sex. I added that if she was willing to bend her religious rules just to tease me and be naked around me, which she admitted was hot, she could at least open that door a bit more and allow some touching, stroking, maybe even sucking. I said I would be more than happy to return the favor all day every day. She smiled, for the first time since we started the conversation, and said she's open to experimenting. Ain't gonna lie, my penis practically flexed at that moment, lol. We're still not on the same page regarding marriage. All her siblings had husbands at her age, and she feels like it's now her time to follow the family tradition of marrying their first love. It's pressure on both of us. However, we agreed to just leave the topic of marriage open for discussion while we work on our relationship. I apologized for misreading her sexual expression as manipulation, and she apologized for making me feel blue-balled and confused. I'm happy to announce that we kissed and made up. And I got to touch her boobs in the process. Progress. Time will tell if we're truly meant for each other and if zero sex will be sustainable. But right now, I love her enough to figure all that out together. That said, I dedicate this update to the people of this sub who didn't mind taking time out of their lives to send a complete stranger messages of support. Some of those messages were tough to read. but at the end of the day it got me to open up about how I feel, and look now, I'm touching boobs. Much love. The next one is titled, My Virgin GF, 22, has no intention of having sex until she's married and yet she's more sexual on social media than she is with me, 22 meters. She's become quite popular on TikTok and IG in recent months. Last time I checked she had just under 10k followers on both apps. She had no more than 200 when we first met. Most of her posts at that time were relatively innocent in a sense that they were focused on her spending time with friends, doing skateboarding tricks, etc. All of that changed when she posted a video of her getting a tattoo just below her belly button. Obviously she had to show some skin to get the tattoo, and even though she wasn't like naked or anything, it was more than enough nudity to attract a decent amount of online attention. Since then, she's embraced her sexuality a lot more. Almost all of her posts have been one step away from OnlyFans territory. Her most recent TikTok is actually what prompted me to share this post. She posted a video of her sitting on the edge of the bed with me sleeping in the background. She was wearing what she calls pajamas and what I call underwear. She slowly proceeded to pull down the blanket to reveal that I'm not wearing a shirt. She continued pulling until the blanket reached my waist. The video stops there with her biting her bottom lip and seductively smiling at the camera. Cue thousands of views and likes. Most of the comments requested a part 2. A few even said the sex must have been good for me to be passed out like that. Ironically, there was never any sex. My GF made it clear to me since day one she was not about that sex before marriage life, which I respected. She helped me with her hand once and that was the most sexual thing we have ever done to date. It's been a year since that hand job. Sometimes I pleasure myself to her content on social media because she's more sexual on there than she is with me. I will never put pressure on her, or anyone, to have sex with me, but based on what I've been seeing online, I just can't help but feel like she's using up all her sexual affection on the internet instead of in our relationship. I want to respect her wish to wait until marriage before doing anything sexual with another person. But marriage is not even on our minds at the moment. How do I encourage my GF to show me the same sexual energy she shows thousands of random strangers, without sounding like I'm either implying that she's a hypocrite or that I'm disrespecting her values? FML. This was supposed to be a one-paragraph post. Sorry. Edit. Thank you so much for all the feedback. I never expected to attract so much attention on this sub. I'm sorry I didn't respond to all of you. I could no longer keep up with the volume of comments coming through. I just wanted to provide an update so that I don't leave my post so open-ended. I talked to my GF. Thanks to the advice on here, I was more confident in what I wanted to communicate. In short, she said she knew I was gonna break eventually because at the end of the day, guys want girls who want sex. Not gonna lie, from there I kind of lost control of the conversation. She became annoyed at my comment about consent and wasted no time deleting the recent TikTok of me sleeping, even though I didn't ask her to delete it. I became so overwhelmed that I decided to show her this thread. Big ducking mistake. She accused me of making her sound like an easy girl. Then she cried and said it's ironic because here I was complaining on the internet about her getting so much attention for being sexual, and yet, my first response was to discuss her sexual behavior with horny strangers on a sex site, and not only get hundreds of messages and thousands of upvotes, but also awards for it. She said that made both of us sluts. We decided to drop the subject for the evening because we were both getting emotional and saying hurtful things. We went our separate ways and have yet to speak again. Not quite the happily ever after I was hoping for. A user in the comments said, I agree with others that consent for videos you're in is a must. I'm curious if she feels like it's not real. Like that's her fake persona and anything she does on there doesn't impact her character or her decision to not be sexual in real life. If you are continuing the relationship, I'd be curious what the line actually is. Is she comfortable with HJs? Or would she be comfortable with both of you pleasing yourselves while making out? Even if there's no involving genitals, there's always a way to be sexual and respect her boundaries. I'd suggest discussing this and possibly consider using a character, persona or role play for sexual activity to increase her level of comfort. Another user said, as others have already pointed out, her most recent TikTok is a clear violation of trust, as she should have consulted you before for your consent to be part of this video, especially since it was posted on the internet. Regarding her overall, directing her sexual energy towards thousands of strangers on the internet, it's totally possible that what she is doing is not even sexual in the sense that it turns her on, but instead validates her in her attractiveness. For many people, the opinion of several thousands of people are of much higher worth than the opinion of a single person, even if that person is their partner. Now back to you. Honestly, whenever I hear someone say, "How do I not imply that she is a hypocrite?" I think what they are actually saying is that to them, that person is a hypocrite. And honestly, I think that's fine. You are partners, and in relationships objective truth is many times of very little importance. What matters is how the two of you feel about it. I suggest you think about the following question. Is this really about her being sexual on the internet, but not towards you? Or would you also dislike her behavior on the internet if she was sleeping with you, or sexual in any other way? If you dislike her behavior in general, I think that's fine. It is 100% her right to show her body off on the internet, but if you don't want this behavior in a partner, that's 100% valid, too. Regardless how you feel about it, as soon as you have an answer to this question you should sit down with her and talk it out. The next one is titled, Ada for telling a friend she shouldn't expect guys to stick around if she isn't upfront about having a kid. My 30M friend Sarah, 30F, is a single mother to 4-year-old boy. For the last few years, she's been dating guys, hides the fact that she has a kid until things start getting serious, or accidentally gets outed, and they all get scared off when they find out. Rinse and repeat. She confided in me, asking for insight into the mind of guys like you, single, sober, liberal-minded, financially stable and open to a serious relationship. Now I'm just getting back into the dating pool. I don't have kids, but it's not a deal breaker for me. I've always wanted to be a father and I'm not hung up on biology. I've always wanted to adopt, foster at least one child. But, I told her, dating women with kids requires a different approach at every stage, for everyone, than women without. There's an custody, managing expectations, planning around her kid's schedule, not getting attached prematurely, etc. And that's all before even thinking of living together, let alone marriage. So, she shouldn't be surprised guys don't stick around once they find out she's been lying to them about something astronomical. It's an butthole move bordering on entrapment. She called me an butthole and insensitive to the struggles of a lonely single mom. Ada? Some clarification. She hasn't really been dating these guys, as in going on dates. Rather, it usually begins as merely a hookup without much talking about personal stuff, but then turns into a standing booty call and eventually morphs into something more, but without the groundwork of dating properly. Update. We talked again. I apologized for being blunt. I'm on the spectrum. I can come off as harsh when I'm trying to be sweet and the like. But reiterated my position using human words derived from your comments. Then she came clean, sort of, the whole time she was trying to gauge me out. Some background. We met 15-ish years ago and I liked her but was friend-zoned. We became close and at 18 we made a pact that if we're both single at 30 we'd get married. Over the years she's dated, I've dated. I shot my shot a few times in between and got rejected every time, but then she got salty every time I met someone new and tried to low-key sabotage me. At some point I gave her an ultimatum: either we go out and see where it goes, or she backs off. Either way is fine, but I'm not going to be her backup plan. It hurt, but I respected her choice to date her ex, who turned out to be a cheating, abusive heroin addict. I friend-zoned her and moved on to date my ex. With the benefit of hindsight, I'm glad we never dated. It would never have worked. Our personalities and values have evolved and are incompatible. A user in the comments said, NTA, she is lying about a huge part of her life, so of course they are leaving after they find out. I wouldn't be surprised if any of these guys might have been okay with it had she been upfront about it, but the lying is 100% a deal breaker. Her getting mad at you is because she didn't like your answer. She likely knows she is at fault here but was looking for you to tell her that she wasn't. Another user said, "She's basically catfishing these guys. The logic she is following is that if she gets these guys to see what a great match she is for them, they will overlook the downsides about her. A lot of guys don't see kids as a downside, but lying about major parts of your life to your so is always a downside. Real life is not like fairy tales or romantic comedies. If you want someone to fall in love with you, you have to be upfront about turning into an ogre at night. Trying to hide it is just a recipe for heartbreak." This is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the relationship stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video and write a comment. I really appreciate your support and it helps my channel so much. Thank you.